This is Fertile, a podcast by ARTÀ Healing. Fertile is your journey back to the rhythm of your cycle, the wisdom of your hormones, and the sacred biology that shapes you. This is the space that we explore natural medicine, real root cause healing, dispel myths, and have authentic, raw, and honest conversations. I'm your host, Marigold, and while I've worked in wellness for over a decade, I've also navigated my own health challenges, including PCOS and chronic acne. This podcast serves the radical woman who knows deep within her bones there must be another way, for those ready to challenge the conventional and unlock their exceptional fertility. Our mission: to make natural normal so you can say goodbye to chronic menstrual symptoms and step fully into your power as a fertile woman. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fertile. So today I really want to talk you through endometriosis and adenomyosis. These are the most common conditions I get asked about, and I thought it made sense to actually do a whole episode on what they are, the root of them, why we get them, and just to kind of decipher the difference between these two, because I know there's not a lot of information out there, especially on adenomyosis. Lots of women are getting diagnosed, but when I type it into any, Google search, it is starting to come up now, but even if I write it in a Google document or a text, it just says that the word doesn't exist. I don't think it's even in a dictionary yet. I'm not sure. But we know that it takes up to 20 years for medical research to come through and to get updated. So I'm sure it will at some point, but, we also know there's more research on pigeons than there is on women's health. Crazy, I know. So these conditions they're caused by the modern day. It's not your fault. It's just they're arising more and more now, more than ever. And we're going to talk through what they are first, and then I'll get to the root of why we get them. So first of all, the difference between endo and adeno is really just the location. They are based on endometrial tissue. So that is the lining of your womb, the lining of the uterus that grows and sheds every month to give you your period. But with endometriosis and adenomyosis, the tissue is growing in a different location. Now, with endometriosis, the tissue starts growing outside the uterus, but it's commonly on the ovaries, can be on the oviducts, the fallopian tubes, around the pelvis, can be on the bowel and the bladder, which then, can make it very painful to have sex, to have a bowel movement, any form of kind of movement, because a lot of these adhesions start to grow, causing a lot of chronic and debilitating pain. So adenomyosis, very similar, but what happens with adenomyosis is the endometrial tissue starts growing abnormally within the muscle fiber, in the muscle wall. So it's just a different location. Both these conditions are extremely painful, have a lot of debilitating pain. I don't think that many general practitioners and doctors understand the level of pain that women go through. They're often just prescribed painkillers or the pill or surgery. There's really not very many options yet. But this pain can be like childbirth level pain, especially if there's clots as well. The pain can radiate down the thighs, and it can be full body pain. I think when we talk about these conditions, and clients that I have worked with, they go to the doctor, they're often, the way they talk about it is it's like a womb pain, but it's not. We know that it can be a chronic full body pain. Clients that I have worked with experience joint pain. They also get nosebleeds as well. They've got endometrial tissue growing in their nose. It's becoming a bit of an epidemic that we need to address. But the good news is it can be healed. And I know a lot of people would disagree with me, especially the medical industry, but it's just because they haven't done the research yet. But we understand the root, and when you understand the root of a condition, it's much easier to heal. A lot of women also have heavy periods, very heavy periods with these conditions. And that's because with the growth of endometrial tissue, it's going to create more period, right? That is the whole point of having your endometrial lining grow and shed every month. It's our cycle, right? It grows with the introduction of estrogen, and then it's maintained by progesterone, the hormones progesterone. And when progesterone falls just in our luteal phase before our period arrives, yeah, that's our period. That's the shedding of the uterine lining, the endometrial tissue shedding away. And so we know that this tissue is very much connected to our hormones. Now, you might see on social media estrogen dominance, that term, or that endometriosis is caused by estrogen dominance. And it's half right, partially right. I wouldn't say it's caused by estrogen dominance, but it definitely aggravates the condition. So some people who have endometriosis, they'll have the chronic pain, but they might not have estrogen dominance, therefore they won't have the heavy bleeds with it. If you've got the chronic pain and the heavy periods, it's likely that you've got estrogen dominance. Now, I don't care whether you go and have a blood test and it tells me that your estrogen levels are low. If you have periods that are more than 7 days long, hemorrhaging, you're changing your pads every 30 minutes to an hour, then I would say you have estrogen excess in your system. Because the only thing that's going to stimulate the growth of endometrial tissue, the womb lining, which is thus your period, is estrogen, okay? I always go by symptoms rather than tests. And I know we're conditioned as a society to get testing done. And of course, in some circumstances, it can be very, very helpful. But in others, it can't. I've had clients come to me, they've had a blood test and it shows low estrogen in their system. But they are hemorrhaging and they've been offered estrogen, HRT, right? HRT creams, HRT patches, putting more estrogen into their body. Their periods are getting worse. Endometriosis is getting worse. And they don't know why, because their blood test said low estrogen. We always go by symptoms. The body is an intelligent system and it knows exactly how to show us when something is out of balance. Now, I'm here to give you the information. I'm not here to tell you what to do. It's your body, your decision. For some, going and having surgery is the best option for them, and great. If that feels right for you and your body, you go and do that. If you want to take HRT, go for it. That's your decision. But I'm here just to give you the information, and then you can make your own decision from that informed consent. It's really important that we go through informed consent. So with endometriosis, the first thing to note is it's an immune condition, okay? It starts in the gut. And it's connected to estrogen, but that comes later. It's likely that endometriosis started in your system way before you got any symptoms, years before, right? Maybe you started having some gut issues 10 years ago. Bit of bloating, bit of acid reflux, maybe anxiety. You know, none of us are really taught how to look after our gut. And what is amazing about current modern medical research is we're actually starting to now understand what the gut is, the microbiome. Something that Ayurveda has been talking about for thousands of years, which we call Agni, right? The digestive fire that encompasses all of the enzymes, the digestive acids, juices, and the microbiome, right? Our healthy bacteria, the pre and probiotics that rule everything. You know, we're made up of 90% bacteria, more than, 10% human cells. So we know in Ayurveda, Indian philosophy and medicine, this is not new. But in the modern world, this is new. And it's great that we're starting to talk about it. Everyone's taking probiotics. But we're still missing that link of understanding why we get gut disturbances in the first place, okay? Which comes from the way that we live, our lifestyle, our diet, and also the emotional aspects, the unprocessed trauma that we go through. So let's talk through the cause, and then I'll talk through a little bit more about the gut and how that's even relevant. So endometriosis and adenomyosis, it starts in the gut. So the gut, we're talking about the stomach, right? The small intestines, the large intestines, the liver, all these different organs that are part of the gut system. Now, the first port of call when you eat something, when you digest anything, herbs, emotions, experiences, because in Ayurveda you don't just digest food, it's everything that goes into your system. You've got your stomach, which is very cleverly full of hydrochloric acid. That is designed as your barrier, as the gateway to the rest of your body. It's your safety net. Prevents viruses, bacteria, fungi that would otherwise cause illness or dysfunction in the system. Food, whatever it is, it's got to be digested. Having enough hydrochloric acid, first of all, is your first defense. It's a very clever system, okay? When you eat something, for example, it's going to be broken down into the tiniest little micronutrients, proteins into amino acids, carbohydrates into glucose, and then fats into lipids, very simply. We're not going to do a nutrition lesson right now, but just it starts to break down. If you don't have enough stomach acid, first of all, that's already going to be an issue, and these foods will not be digested effectively, causing fermentation. In Ayurveda, we call it ama. Now, this is where undigested food particles begin, and they start to move through the stomach into the small intestine, and the small intestine is all about absorption. This is where the barrier gets disrupted in most people. You've got these tight gut junctions. I just imagine it as a gate, and over time, due to our lifestyle, tap water with chemicals, preservatives on our food, pesticides, all those things, pollution in the air, chronic unresolved traumas. There's a whole extensive list just because of the modern day. This causes those junctions in the small intestines, the gut barrier, to start to separate. They become leaky. You might have heard the term leaky gut. We talk about it a lot in herbalism and naturopathy, but the modern medical industry don't currently accept it. Functional medical doctors do. You can Google leaky gut. So that's essentially what's happening. So that the undigested food particles will start to leak through straight into your blood. Now, your blood is always clean. Your body always wants to keep it free of anything that's not properly digested and clean. So when you get these undigested food that hasn't been processed properly hit the bloodstream, you get something called an immune reaction. It activates your immune system and it goes, hey, what's going on? I don't recognize this protein or whatever it is. And that's the root of what we call autoimmunity. That is the root of where things have gone wrong. A mechanism has gone wrong, and that is the root of endometriosis. The immune system starts to go, well, we need to attack this thing. We need to clear this thing out of the blood. I don't know what it is because it wasn't digested. Therefore, it's not recognized. The body sees it as a foreign object. So the immune system has already become active now. And this is going to start with confusing signals or messages and potentially causing your endometrial tissue to be displaced, right? This is not the only pathway. There's various other things that can be involved, like your gut microbiome, the gut microbiota, healthy gut bacteria, whatever you want to call it, gut microflora. There's so many terms for it. But depending on what your microflora is, because of the way that you've lived, the foods you've eaten, it's constantly changing. Depending on the food, that is what causes your bacteria to change. You can change your bacteria. And so we now know from new medical research and current scientific research about something called the estrobolome, which is it's a type of microbiome that's connected to how you metabolize estrogen. So estrogen, the hormone, starts to get metabolized in the gut, meaning if you don't have a well-balanced microbiome, maybe you don't have enough of certain bacterias, and maybe you've got an overgrowth of another, then you're not going to metabolize and break down estrogen effectively, meaning you're going to have more estrogen in the system because of your gut health. Okay? This is going to aggravate endo and adeno because it's going to tell the body to create more of a womb lining when there's more estrogen. So you've got the kind of autoimmunity, leaky gut role coming in. You've also got the gut microbiome and how it metabolizes estrogen coming in from that angle as well. You've also got this undigested food, ARMA, circulating through the body now in the blood. And on top of that, if you've got quite stagnant elimination channels, like say you're constipated and you don't poo regularly, maybe your liver's stagnant from unresolved anger, drinking too much alcohol, eating way too many like processed foods full of unhealthy fats like rapeseed oil and canola oil and sunflower seed oil, and it's really damaging the liver. Maybe you've taken pharmaceuticals for many years, or the pill. It's also caused some liver damage, or maybe not damage, but the liver is struggling, let's say that instead. And maybe you struggle to sweat. Maybe you don't exercise enough. Maybe you don't live in a hot country. Maybe you don't go to sauna. Maybe you're just not sweating enough. So your elimination channels, the way the body clears toxins and excess out, is not working properly. So those toxins, ARMA, undigested food is circulating, and it can't be moved out of the system, which is what the body's always trying to do. It's always trying to detox naturally, clearing these things out to keep us healthy and well. So you've now got a few different pictures, right? The autoimmunity, the microbiome, and then the kind of stagnation in the body. The channels are all blocked, or at least stagnant anyway. And then on top of that, in Ayurveda, we have something called ARTÀ. So we work a lot with energies as well as the physical and the science within Ayurveda, but modern medicine don't currently acknowledge energy work, even though we understand physics, but it's there. So you might have heard of Pitta, Vata, Kapha, which are the Ayurvedic doshas based on the 5 elements, exactly like Chinese medicine and Unani Tib, a lot of indigenous medicine. But Apana Vata is the direct action flow. It's the action of all downward energy. It rules menstruation, bleeding. It rules childbirth. It rules urination, flatulence, going to the toilet. And anything that's downward releasing. Very important for just thriving and living well. We must have this downward energy. The same way that we need prana, right? Pranavata going up and out. We've also got Udanavata, but we're not going to go into that. But Apanavata is the downward action. And with endometriosis and adenomyosis, because of all the ARMA circulating in the system causing these stagnated channels, Apanavata starts going back the wrong way. It's going up, and you get what we call retrograde menstruation. And we need to change the flow of energy. So that's a big part of it too. On top of that, we've got something called, I'm just giving you all of the information here, xenoestrogens, which is all to do with the modern day. They're fake estrogens that come from the modern day. So these come from man-made materials, plastics, and chemicals mostly. So you can just do a Google search, xenoestrogen. It's spelled Xeno, estrogen. It just means fake estrogen. And what's happening is a lot of man-made products, for example, let's just say plastics, they mimic estrogen. They've got the same molecular structure. So if you were going to look in a lab or whatever, for example, you'd look under and see it looks like estrogen, but it's not. The body, sadly, recognizes it as estrogen, okay? Because of the molecular structure, it's just the way that the body recognizes anything. It's how it reads things, in the most layman way of saying it. So what happens is the body takes that on. Oh, it's estrogen. I'm going to process that and store it in the body or utilize it. I'm going to increase the endometrial tissue. Of course, estrogen has so many roles in the body. It supports our health of our bones. It supports our gut lining. It works on our nervous system, brain health. But in excess, it can go the other way. It gives us our healthy, dewy skin and long, healthy hair and nails and libido. But in a kind of in low amounts or in excess, it starts to become disruptive. Now, the body will start to store it. If it doesn't know how to detox, if there's blocked elimination channels, you can't poo, you can't sweat, you're not urinating enough, you're dehydrated, it's going to start storing it because the body will always keep the blood clean, remember? So what it will do is it will start to store it in fat. Now, I see a lot of my clients come to me and they're like, I hardly eat that much. I work out all the time and I'm not budging the weight. And when they tell me that, I know it's estrogen. And it tends to be that annoying, stubborn fat that sits on the abdomen or around the bum and thighs. Now, I'm not talking about a bit of fat. That's totally normal. As women, it's very normal for us to have fat. We need it for survival. I mean, it's a very healthy thing to have. But what I'm talking about is when it's excess and it becomes, a stubborn kind of weight. And when you know that it's like, okay, I'm eating healthy and well, and I'm not really sure why I'm putting on more weight. Yeah, so that can be where it starts to store in the adipose tissue of the fat cells. Now, I've given you a good run through of the kind of pathways of these conditions. And so when we understand the root connected to the elimination channels being blocked and the gut microbiome, the gut barrier, these modern fake xenoestrogens in our environment that come from various different directions. It could just be the paraffin wax candle you burn every day in your room, right? Trying to relax and you're just breathing in these xenoestrogens without realizing. It could be the tap water because you've never drunk filtered water and you're consuming chlorides and excess copper and fluoride in the water, and this contributes to those fake estrogens. A lot of the time we're just not taught about this. This really should be taught in schools, how to look after ourselves and be healthy and well, but it's not. And so I've made it my mission to do so. It's what we do in my program. Over 4 months, I teach you all the ways that we've just talked through, how to make sure your elimination channels are open, how to clear all these xenoestrogens from your system, understanding your cycle and how and why you don't get pregnant and when exactly you're fertile and when you're not. And so really when we're healing endometriosis and adenomyosis, we just go back to the root. We have to start healing the gut. We need to look at the liver. We need to make sure you're pooing regularly. Most of the clients I see are just going to the toilet every few days. It's not enough. You've got to be sweating regularly. I feel like I really drill it into everyone to sweat regularly. And then we can use herbal medicine. So we use herbal medicine and Ayurveda together. Herbs are, I have no words for them. Sometimes the most potent medicine I've ever experienced. I still don't fully understand plants. There's so much to learn, but we can use them to clear adhesions. And they do very well. We can use them to support reduction of pain. We can make the lining of the endometrium thinner with herbs and lessen blood very quickly with specific herbs, especially if people are bleeding for 2 weeks or more, and we've got to quickly reduce that because their iron levels are really low and they're weak and they're vomiting with their periods. We need to start clearing that excess heat that's causing it. And so we use plant medicine a lot to start with reducing symptoms. And then we use Ayurveda to teach clients how to live so that these symptoms and conditions don't come back, and to ensure that, you're looking after yourself. And I guess what I believe every woman should be taught at the beginning of their menarche, right? Their first period. So there's quite a lot to learn. Most clients learn it in 4 to 6 months. And then you leave with tools for the rest of your life and clear your symptoms, and it can be done. So yes, it's really not that complicated when you actually understand how the body works. It's just a few tweaks here and there. It's turning off the tap to several things in your lifestyle that could be contributing to it, making sure your body can clear out what it needs to, and then living in alignment with your cycle. It can be a really beautiful thing to experience, just a 3-day bleed that's pain-free. And this is when you can up level and go even deeper into, I get downloads on my period now. It's we call it the wise woman time. It's a really beautiful time for, epiphany moments, clarity. And as women, there's so much depth to us. And I feel like when we have all this pain and heavy bleeding, hemorrhaging and vomiting, we're kind of cut off from that. Like there's no way to truly live and connect and deepen into that part of our lives that we all really desire when we have all these symptoms. And I never really understood this when I was healing myself. My goal was just to clear symptoms. And then when I started healing, I was like, oh wowee, there's so many layers here. And this is not just affecting my health, it's my relationships, my career, finances, emotional aspects, and it's deep work, guys. This is full body soul healing. So I'll leave it there. If you have questions for me, send me an email. You can also talk to us on Instagram. I'm always here to answer questions because it's really important for me that women understand what's going on in their body. And then from there, you can make your own decisions with what you want to do, which path you want to go down. So I'll be sending you a lot of love and healing today, and I'll see you in the next episode. All right, lots of love. Bye.